Whitney Webb is losing some fireplace on this interview with Natalie Brunell. She's speaking about Bitcoin and Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is one of the original founders of PayPal and the PayPal mafia, right? Him and Elon are presently backing Trump to win the United States election here inside the United States. And so matters are in reality crazy proper now. And I think that is the precise time to play this clip. So permit me go through this. I will come up with my 2 cents. People listening and looking have not examined Check Your Financial Privilege by using Alex Gladstein. I, in reality, suggest it because it's terrible what the World Bank and the IMF have performed. I suggest, basically, there are such a lot of developing international locations in an effort to, by no means, probably expand due to the fact they have got this burden of debt on them, and we basically extract the assets and the wealth, and we get richer on the expense of humans all around the international, which can be struggling in a few instances, I imply, really suffering, to build things that increase Western international locations. And it's frightening. I'm without a doubt glad that you shine the spotlight on it. I desired to ask you something. Now I'm forgetting my train of thought, but Kay, you delivered up Larry Summers, who is in your book, and lots of your investigative pieces connected to Love Clinton and Epstein and all of that. There are quite a few of those characters that maintain resurfacing. And to your latest, the PayPal Paxos piece, I think Peter Thiel additionally got here up into your J.D. Vance investigation. Peter Thiel is someone who definitely burdened me due to the fact at the beginning, I think a variety of Bitcoiners were excited about him. He mentioned how outstanding Bitcoin is. He's deliberately confusing, I assume. Yeah, he went to the Bitcoin convention and talked about how first-rate Bitcoin is while he became promoting the pinnacle. And then now he says that Bitcoin has no future. And I heard him in this on this speech, basically just, absolutely being offensive to the Bitcoin network. What is his deal? Because I realize he is additionally concerned with Palantir, which you've written about proper. What do approximately Peter Thiel? There's a lot to mention approximately Peter Thiel. Wow. So yeah. So what you referenced earlier, that like a speech at the Bitcoin convention some years ago, not simplest becoming selling on the pinnacle, however, also like proper after that, he went on a panel with like then CIA Director Mike Pompeo and was like, Bitcoin's probable economic weapon from China to threaten the dollar. Peter Thiel is one of those men that simply, I assume, his public going through comments are intentionally confusing. That manner humans can sort of factor to particular costs and say, oh, he is this, oh, he's that. He's kind of like a public chameleon, I feel like, in that experience. And a whole lot of humans seem to assume that Peter Thiel is a libertarian due to the fact he has described himself as that. But I mean, in case you clearly concentrate to a lot of the stuff he stated, and additionally observe the matters he has completed, he doesn't seem like a libertarian at all. Well, I could make the difference that if he is a libertarian, he is a cartel market libertarian as opposed to an unfastened market libertarian. Peter Thiel does now not like loose markets. He does not like loose market competition. He says opposition is terrible for profits and that you need to corner a marketplace and create a monopoly. And whilst he's carried out that and made monopolies, he has carried out it along with 3-letter groups in the US authorities. So this isn't always something that a person, a libertarian, quote unquote, does. I imply, he says, why shouldn't libertarians paintings with the authorities and enlarge the authorities? And all of this, I suggest, it certainly just makes little or no experience, frankly. So I suppose, again, it's, using a word, using an identification, the usage of a label to get human beings to identify with him being like, oh yeah, he's our man, he's the libertarian billionaire in Silicon Valley and all of this. Yeah. But in case you take a look at how he built PayPal, the co-founders, which consist of Peter Thiel and Max Levchin and others, have been quite open that as they have been developing their business, they did so in consultation with a whole lot, each intelligence business enterprise that might talk to them. And then PayPal, of course, has been partnered with intelligence on and off in approaches, which can be quite sizable as it relates to monetary surveillance. And PayPal has, if you are using PayPal and also you don't think some of your transactions are being checked or tracked, assume once more. I do not know. He sold the enterprise, so it would be interesting to look kind of what you recognize what agencies are nevertheless perhaps taking part, what get right of entry to do they should PayPal to track chain transactions. So I do not know. It's getting sort of bizarre, guy. Also, what a route Peter Thiel hasn't been involved with it with, because you understand for the reason that early 2000s or so, but then he went directly to create Palantir, which he did so explicitly with the involvement of the CIA. Its first, the primary numerous years of its lifestyles, Palantir's handiest client was the CIA. So the CIA changed into their first important funder along Thiel himself. And it becomes surely the resurrection, deliberate resurrection, through Thiel and Alex Karp of a failed DARPA public-private surveillance software referred to as total information awareness. And they went to the human beings that had been strolling total information awareness after it was closed down by using Congress and essentially tried to select their brains about the way to make a private, most effective model of this public-non-public partnership that become criticized by means of everyone, even in mainstream media and pretty lots every advocacy agency within the United States, stated this can eliminate a privateness for every American and it is blatantly unconstitutional. and in order that they just recreated it as a private zone entity. And now Palantir doesn't just do that for the United States authorities, they do it for Wall Street as well. And there may be big costs to the effect that Palantir does not just run the intelligence community, in addition they run Wall Street. Because their AI and predictive analytics, and all of which are used by some of the biggest companies in Wall Street, and they are also used by every unmarried intelligence employer in the United States. So in case you're a libertarian that desires to make government smaller and reduce the excesses and abuses of a government it's gotten out to manipulate, why would you supply the most out of control part of the authorities, the CIA? The most powerful and unfavorable to freedom weapon in its whole arsenal. It's been used to profile Americans for the past 2 decades based totally off of all of the information we've freely positioned online, which includes on social networks like Facebook, which would not exist without Peter Thiel. Yeah, that is what I become going to ask you about, because basically Peter Thiel contributed to essentially making his political career, right? $15 million. Well, and also his Project Capital profession. So if you haven't seen up the history with J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel basically gave J.D. Vance each process he's ever had as when he was given out of university, in addition to gave him $15 million to run for Senate. Right? Run for the Senate. That's how he was given into the Senate. He's a primary term senator. Okay, so you're speaking about someone that has lots of connection to J.D. Vance, that has connections to 3-letter agencies like the CIA. That's pretty crazy, right? You begin to marvel how lengthy can Trump simply last as a president when you have all of these other factors around J.D. Vance. Like, is the play here to get J.D. Vance within the huge office proper? Like, that is what my mind goes to after I listen to all of this. I do not know, in case your thoughts is going to the same component, however, such as you start to wonder, right? Is something coming if Trump and J.D. Vance had been to win and J.D. Vance is the vice president? How, is there a play right here to get J.D. Vance within the president's office? Right? Whether it's via the turned into it, the 25th Amendment or whatever, in which you could take. The president now, if you have all of the cabinet join up as well as the vice chairman, I suppose is what they attempted to do, or they had been bringing up to do to Trump earlier than the closing impeachment, earlier than he were given kicked out of office. But you understand whilst January 6th happened, but allow me just play this, the rest of that is simply some other minute or two, which started at Mithril Capital. And then Peter Thiel become one of the predominant humans that financed his J.D. Vance's very own Project Capital Corporation, Naria Capital, and after which Shaw bankrolled his preliminary Senate run. Yeah, he's essentially a Thiel-made guy. All the stuff which you stated about information, and just, I imply, we essentially did freely place it available, and now they're the use of it against us. And you talked in your remaining piece about how fax is pretty